On June 5, 2025, at the Institut Français Hall in Douala, Cameroon, a very, very unique event took place. It was an unexpected one which we don't find usually in our ecosystem. People were amazed, people were worried, people were wondering what was happening. And then something landed in the hall. Superman landed here in Douala, Cameroon. Okay guys, today we're going to talk about something really, really interesting. Something which is going to do with our collaboration with DC Comics. As you all know, or if you don't know, maybe you are, a human being who just teleported from the Stone Age. Anyway, Zebra Comics has this collaboration with DC Comics, the giant of comics across the world. First, it started with the Joker, then, we have Superman, the world. Here with me in discussion is Dr. Ejob Gaius, who is the Chief Operating Officer of Zebra Comics, and of course, the writer who created the enigmatic story around Epasa Moto, so I'll say that, and bringing this very unique story to the Superman the World anthology. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about that, and I mean, it's coming out in a few days from now. I think on the 25th of June, it's going to be landing on the Zebra Comics platform and in different stores across the world. Yeah. And, but before that, I want to give you an insight as to what happened or how we came about creating this. During the event at the Institut Français, we had this very, very lively conversation, I can remember very well, where we kind of shared, the backstories, backdoor stories with, those who were present. And it was really a moment of fun, a moment of, lively exchange, and a moment where, comic fans were really proud, to be Cameroonians. For once. So, so today we're going to share with you that backdoor information, and of course, on every creative project, especially in comics, there are a writer, there's an artist, who is involved. But today we're going to focus on the story part of it. We're going to look at the stories, we're going to look at how it came about. But before we go there, how did it all happen? DC Comics, just a recap. I know we have spoken about this many times, How did you feel that day when you just got the news that, hey, DC Comics has written to us that we're going to work on the Joker?
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. We've said the story many times. People keep asking how it happened.
How it happened.
Especially during the event at the EFC. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of people were wondering about that, and it was even asked in the hall. Yeah. Yeah, so let me just go right again. So yeah, that was in October 2023 when we were one fateful evening. Everyone was tired, like after a heavy day of work. Yeah. So we're heading back home, and then suddenly we saw this email. Yeah. Coming from DC Comics, and at the moment we could not believe that it was from DC Comics because it was too overwhelming. It's too much of a dream come true. Yeah. Sometimes we chase our dreams, but when they happen, it's unbelievable. So yeah, it was hard to believe at that moment. So we said, we hope this is not some guy trying to scam us or trick us, because we received so many mails where people claiming to be who they are not and things like that. So we had to do our due diligence. We had to make sure that this is legit. And so the following morning we took our time, went to, and then we replied, and then when we finally had the Zoom meeting, I guess at that moment there were no doubts anymore. So it was quite an honor. It was quite a privilege to be solicited by one of the greatest players in the comic book industry in the world. It does not something that happens every day. And we did the work. Yes, we did the work. We did Joker the World. Yeah. Black Therapy, which was a great success, critically from all the reviews and positive remarks that we got from our fans in Cameroon, and even other people who discovered the story from other countries. And yeah, I think it went well. Then fast forward now to several months later.
Yes.
Several months later, and then we got another mail saying, "Hey, we're doing Superman the World. Do you guys want to open?" And I was like, "Is that even a question? Is that even a question?" And the entire team, everyone was very happy. Everyone was excited and amazed. Getting to do this a second time is confirmation of the work we're doing. It shows that at least we're doing something right, and we just keep doing it and keep improving. So it was great. It was great.
Ah, that's really, really interesting, because I remember the day the mail came, I was somewhere in Yaoundé, and you know, I wasn't near my phone by then. I think Marvin who called, and you know, and he tried several times. In the end, when he got me and he said, "Man, you know, guess what?" You know, the first thing that came to mind was like, are we traveling somewhere? Are we going to Champa? Is there some opportunity? Is there some opportunity? You know, it was very far from anything that I could even imagine. You know, and you know, hearing that DC Comics was reaching out, you know, out of the blue, because you know sometimes we sit in our corners and we say, okay, you know what, let me reach out, let me send a mail, let me, you know, propose something. You know, we're just in our corner doing our thing, just being who we are, authentic, you know, without trying to impress, you know, anybody, or trying to, you know,
seek any attention.
Yes, be like anyone, you know. And they reached out, and it was really an interesting experience. I remember also the first Zoom meeting, I was part of it. I think I even moderated that, and when I saw the different heads appearing, because I was waiting, you know, kind of thing. You receive a mail, you know, Warner Brothers and all of that, and you're like, I need to really see this to be true, you know. And before all of that, of course, we've done our due diligence. We've gone online, we've researched, we've looked at all the names, we've seen the faces, and you know, when everything comes up, you begin to see those faces, and you're like, wow, man, what did I do to really get to this level? You know, it was really interesting, and I think it kind of confirms the power of African storytelling. I'll digress a little bit. The fact that it has value, the fact that we here can do really great work, you know, and we can attract people over there. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think first and foremost is the fans that tell you.
Yeah.
First and foremost.
Exactly.
I usually say, I follow, I do a lot of reviews on critics.
Reviews,
I always dwell a lot on the fan review. Because there's something about the critics. They are experts in the domain, so they'll easily point out the faults.
Exactly.
Yeah, there are good things about it, but they easily point out the faults. But the fans give it raw as it comes.
As it comes.
As they experience it.
Yeah.
They don't need to know A to Z of anatomy of story in order to know whether they enjoyed it or not. They feel it. They feel the story. That's the pure emotion.
Exactly.
So yeah, the critics said it was good. The fans said they enjoyed it, and so it was a confirmation of what we did, and that's what you want to know as a writer. You want to write something that people will enjoy.
Yeah.
Because first, like they say, as a writer, if you don't enjoy creating it, you don't expect another person to enjoy it. So it was an enjoyable experience too for me. So yeah, so I'm happy that the audience also shared that experience of enjoyment when going through the pages. It wasn't an easy task. It wasn't an easy task dealing with a character such as the Joker.
Yeah.
It's a complex character that needs to be managed very well. Fortunately for me, I'm a big fan of Joker.
Wow.
So I always loved complex characters
characters
that have not just they're not just evil, but the Joker is that kind of character that you could sometimes he appears to be wise despite the evil.
Despite the evil,
attached him, like an intelligent character that manages to always have a go at Batman.
Yep.
Not necessarily physically, but psychologically, mentally, and stuff like that. Yeah, so it was. I had to think in that kind of direction and see what to do with the Joker one.
Okay.
And then comes Superman. Same thing. It's a very big character with the DC reboot that is going on. So you need to manage. There are so many things that you need to handle. The pressure of making something that people will like and that fits into the new Superman that we're going to get in July.
Exactly.
Which we're very hyped for.
Exactly.
So yeah, and so we had to think about all of that and then still write a story that can happen only in Cameroon. So we needed to make something that can only be told from a Cameroonian perspective.
Yeah.
So that's why we went the direction that we went with.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I do agree that the story is not can be a tricky thing to handle sometimes. But once you hit the mark, yeah, it works.
It works. Oh, that's really interesting. Moving from the Joker, I remember quite well that creating the Joker story, especially for from a Cameroonian perspective, was quite a challenge.
Yeah.
Because already the character is already rooted in law, already rooted in this. The character is already as complex as it is. Imagining a Cameroonian story out of that would have, I imagine, as a writer, could have pushed many people to just, regurgitate something what is already known. I mean, this character has been there for quite a long time and been every other place, maybe except Africa, basically. So it was, I think it was smart to be able to create a story based around a character that's inspired by the Joker, but living in Cameroon, that kind of thing. So, I mean, if you guys have not yet read Black Therapy, you're missing out on a lot. You need to go to Zebra's Comics platform. You need to check out Joker the World. And of course, if you want to single out the Cameroonian story, which we created here at Zebra Comics, you just check out Black Therapy, and you will see some really, really interesting storytelling in there. But there were 13 stories for that anthology. 13 stories which, give you a real in-depth of the character, the Joker, from different perspectives. I mean, it's really a celebration of the Joker lore. Now, talking about Superman coming from the Joker, was complex and all of that. But now, Superman, I think was even more complex because there, you are dealing with Superman. I mean, you're dealing with Superman. It's not just any, superhero. He's out there. He's known everywhere. I think, I don't know if it's Guinness Book or is what platform that said, after the cross of Jesus Christ, the most recognizable symbol is the Superman symbol, on Earth. So that's a very big responsibility, and of course, that responsibility doesn't just just rest at the level of taking the character and doing something with it. You also have your background as as an African. You also have that that responsibility to represent. And of course bring something fresh to the anthology. I mean, I want to imagine that DC Comics themselves were expecting something that was really African. Something that was fresh, something that was going to bring, some different perspective to the whole Superman lore, So I just want to know how did you go about all of this process, having all of these things, and how did you land up with Epasa Moto?
Okay. First thing was the pressure. Superman is a well-known character. It's a very big name. How to not mess it up?
Exactly. Because you could easily do that,
How to not mess it up. So the first thing was this statement that I love from I think Mission Impossible 2. Every hero needs a villain.
Okay.
Every hero needs a villain, but now we're dealing with two heroes. We need a story with two heroes.
Wow. Wow.
We need a story with two heroes.
Wow.
And yet still maintain an element of conflict within the story. And then next thing, what kind of challenge would you give that's at the level of Superman
Yes,
Yeah.
the Superman
What
level.
kind of Superman level challenge can we give to him when he comes to Cameroon?
Yeah.
What do we have that can represent that kind of challenge?
Yeah.
And we said, okay, the best thing we can liken Superman to, first, yeah, they say it's an alien, yeah, from Krypton, yeah. But now when it comes to Earth, he has godlike abilities.
Yep.
So if you look at the most iterations of Superman in comics, in film, and other media,
Yeah.
you realize that he's usually likened to a god.
Yeah. Exactly.
So that gave us an idea. Why don't we have deities here in Africa, in
Africa.
Cameroon? In Cameroon especially, there are so many.
There are so many, actually, yeah.
And now we had to say, okay, we want to use a god. We want to use a deity. Now, which one? Cameroon has 250 tribes.
And each of them have their different gods. Yes.
And every tribe has his god, every tribe has its religion, and all kinds of law
and all of that
can be exploited.
mythology,
And so, which one can we use to represent Cameroon?
Yeah.
So, luckily for us, with the knowledge of with our knowledge of Cameroon and what we know about our traditions and all that, we knew about Epasa Moto.
Okay.
Epasa Moto being the god of the mountain, and the mountain being a symbol that is well recognized as belonging to Cameroon.
Yes.
So that it was easier now to make a choice.
To make a choice,
yeah.
exactly.
So if we use Epasa Moto, it's from the Bakweri people in the southwest region, but it's the god of the mountain.
Yeah.
And the mountain is one of those symbols in Cameroon which stands out, which represents Cameroon.
Yeah.
There's only one Mount Fako. There's only one Mount Cameroon. So it was a good bet to choose something that is uniquely Cameroonian. Even though it's coming from one of the tribes in Cameroon.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that's what we went with that. And it's a god. So
it's a god. Yeah.
It can represent a worthy challenge to Superman. So going by that direction, now help us to come out with a character that we could use to create a conflict with Superman, yet both of them are heroes.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was the line of thought.
Very interesting. When you look at the complexity that comes into putting two heroes face to face, it kind of innovates on the story trope. That means where you have a hero, you have a villain, and then they have this middle ground, or this point where they don't agree, and of course they are fighting against each other. But you have two people who are actually, fighting for something reasonable.
Yeah.
And they actually engage in some very muscular battle, which I wish
I can see that in film one day. Because
exactly, it will really be interesting. So yeah, it's really interesting to see that angle that you took, and I think it speaks of the creative genius.
Yeah.
It speaks of of trying to portray that Africanness, side by side with a global icon, as Superman. And really, I think it's a really interesting angle to take in terms of telling the story. Now, let's talk about Epasa Moto.
Yeah.
Epasa Moto, in terms of Bakweri law, Bakweri actually is an ethnic group here in Cameroon, then the southwest region of Cameroon, and the English-speaking part. And of course, they are located around Mount Fako, which is also called Mount Cameroon. And one of the deities that they venerate is Epasa Moto. Epasa Moto, who is considered to be half man, half stone, who is considered to really just control all the elements, natural elements that surround the mountain. The lava, the wind, the rain, and all of that, the earthquakes and everything. So it's really, really interesting to go there. I think you've already mentioned the fact that the mountain as a symbol that represents Cameroon, but I think the symbolism there even goes beyond that, as far as even, the mountain as hegemony, the mountain as, power, the mountain as, representing strength of Africa, you get the point. And so it was really a point from which, we could dig and, bring out the uniqueness of our cultures. But now, I remember on the 5th of June when we were at Institut Français, we were doing the pre-launch, there were so many questions that were shot back at us, and in terms of getting into Epasa Moto, in terms of using the law, in terms of representing the god, how far did you go?
What I did first, I had to research more on Epasa Moto to know more. It's true that there's the general knowledge that we all have, but for the purpose of the story, one needs to delve deeper into the law in order to understand the character and get inspired from it, and then we'll use that for the story. So I did some research on the Epasa Moto, on what he represents for the people, and the religious aspect, or the religious aspect of the deity, how he's worshipped, the different rites that being carried out that's why you see in the story, even the people of the Bakweri people have featured in the story. So sort of like the spokesman between the people and the gods, the chief and all that. So we had to bring all these elements to bring out that general or that expanded law surrounding Epasa Moto. So that we don't just see two people fighting, we get to know where it's coming from. Of course. What he represents to those people, and why what happened in the story was really a major event, and why he had to come out. Let me not spoil. So we did some research on Epasa Moto. We delved deep into the law, and we used some elements because we had limited number of pages to use, so we couldn't use everything that. Many interesting things you'd have used. It all depends on how what happens in the future. So, so I think that's what we did for Epasa Moto. There were some things that we couldn't use for the purpose of this anthology. There were some very interesting things too where we couldn't use them, like his appearance. If we had to go strictly on the law, his appearance would be way different from what we saw. What you will see on in the anthology is quite different, and we need to also consider other elements of comic book storytelling in order to create a character that fans can easily fall in love with and all that. That's what we did.
Quite interesting. I think when we look at it very keenly, basically what you're saying is that there was first of all a limited amount of pages to be able to tell the stories. An anthology which has several other stories, 15 stories from 15 different countries across the world. So there was a limited amount of pages to be able to tell the entire story, and so that limitation, of course, will affect how much you can explore the mythos. But added to that, of course, there was a lot that you had to put together. You had to also entertain. You had to also make people, come out of it, feeling fulfilled, as when you read, a long-form kind of comic or a series and all of that. But I have this question, which I totally understand already what you said, but this question is coming back to me. Would a Bakweri man who sees Epasa Moto in Superman the World be proud?
Yeah, I think he will. Okay. Because how we represented the character. Okay. Is in a way that valorizes Epasa Moto. Okay. First, as a protector of those people, because he in the story, the whole reason for the conflict is because he's trying to protect his people. The people. Okay. And he's doing that to the fullest of his might. And against a heavy character as Superman. So I think they will be proud because we are giving a new look. First, we are making the world to discover who Epasa Moto is. We're making the world discover who the Bakweri people are. And then we're showing that these deities can represent, can be represented as protectors. And they already consider him as a protector. So we're just giving that, we're just expanding that look to the rest of the world, so everybody can see, hey, this is the guy who protects the Bakweri people and the environs. So I think every Bakweri man who reads the Chariot of the Gods will be happy with how he's being represented and what he represents to the people within the story.
Interesting. The title, Chariot of the Gods, I remember very well. It takes me back to my history lessons. You know, I remember they tell us that Fernando Po, when he was, you know, doing his lazy trip on on the coast of Cameroon, suddenly saw the mountain erupting, and he called it the Chariot of the Gods. Yeah. Does it anyway have links to that historical fact?
Yeah, so I think on the point of the title, we just, for every Cameroonian, once you hear the Chariot of the Gods, you have one image.
Of course, of course, of course.
You have one image. Yeah, those who didn't jump out of history class anyway. If you follow the history teacher, once you hear once you hear the Chariot of the Gods, you know we're talking about the mountain.
The mountain.
And Epasa Moto represents the mountain, the mountain. Of the mountain. So that's where the title is driving to.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. So far, I think when you look at, you know, Superman, you look at what has been done with the character so far. He has gone to so many, many places. Yeah. He has gone to space and back. Yeah. He has been in so many locations, but hardly have we ever seen him in Africa, you know, being embedded in the law in this way, you know, being put face to face with, because it's really interesting, because I think, you correct me if I'm wrong, this is a story about clash of cultures. Yeah. It's a story about, you know, respecting the culture of another person. You know, you may have good intentions, but when you come, there is a way of doing things in particular places which you need to find a way to be able to, accommodate that. And I congratulate DC Comics, you know, for letting this go through, because I mean it kind of puts in place the fact that, you know, we live in a world where people have different views, or live in a world where, you know, there is what is many people want to consider generally as ethics, as the way that everybody should behave. But of course, they recognize that with different places, people have their different beliefs, their different ways of life, their different systems which needs to be, you know, to be maintained. So I think this is something which Africans should be proud about, very much. We should really celebrate. We should really push forward, because that aspect of representation, you know, is always very powerful in different circles across the world. Yeah. Now, what should fans of comics in general expect from the Chariot of the Gods?
I expect a lot of introspection. I expect a lot of action. There's action there too enough. Very bright colors, because for the colorists we did a lot of work on that, because we wanted to portray the bright, diverse colors that we have here in Africa through the story. So yeah, and I hope that the message that the story is trying to pass across, readers will easily pick that. Of course, but while enjoying the story, because even when we have to want to pass a message through a story, we should not forget that we were first of all there to entertain. Yeah. So we hope that they get entertained. We hope that they get the message of the story, and yeah, that's what.
Wow, that's really, really interesting. Stories shape us, stories define us, stories tell the world about who we are, and stories really, you know, are the vectors through which, you know, countries, economies position themselves on the international scene. Countries like the United States already have used storytelling in Hollywood, in their publishing industries, to be able to, you know, put in place soft power tactics to be able to, you know, dominate in the minds of people, because they say once somebody colonizes your mind, he has to colonize you. You understand? So when we use stories now to be able to position ourselves, you know, on the international scene through an anthology like this one, it's worth celebrating and it's worth supporting. Superman the World is going to be out on the 25th of June this year. But already you can already pre-order the anthology on the platform. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So for those who want to be the first readers on the day it lands, you can do your pre-orders now on the Zebra Comics app or on the website. And on the 25th, you have access. You'll be among the first to have access to the anthology. You can read any of the stories that you want. There'll be 15 of them.
Yep.
Very interesting stories from very interesting teams across the world. I even encourage you to go through all of them. Most of the stories are, or all the stories have something very unique to bring to this Mavan law.
Yep.
And that's what's I love the most about this anthology, because you get to see these characters that I've always loved, but in different, very diverse
settings,
and
exactly,
under very different circumstances. I don't think we'll ever see on TV or on other the other comic books that get released. That is what I really love about these anthologies. So yeah, I think those who want them, those who want to discover even the Cameroonian story, especially since that's what we're talking about now. Yeah, you can go to the app, you can go to the website, and you pre-order the Superman the World anthology.
So Superman the World, as we said again, is coming on June 25th. So you're a comic book lover, you should support us, because whatever we are doing here, is not just to build an industry. It's not just to provide jobs for people. It's also to build a culture. It's also to push a culture forward and position us as valuable beings, on the international scene. Yep. Who expected that, someday we'll sit in our corners, minding our business and eating our granules, and DC Comics will come calling, So this is a big opportunity. We're inviting all of you to rush to the Zebra Comics platform, pay for that pre-order, of course, and enjoy storytelling. Be proud that you yourself can be a hero. Okay, guys, thank you. Follow us on all social media platforms. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or X, TikTok, YouTube, and all the platforms that are out there, for all updates on Superman the World. Okay, see you guys. Bye-bye.